but it was just the only way you could explain it is like you could hear it in your heart. You could hear it in your soul. I prayed and I stopped and God just spoke into my heart and just said, hey, if you quit and you follow me, I'll show you what your purpose is. When I was growing up, I was as culturally Christian as it gets. Living in West Virginia, within the Bible Belt, pretty much my whole immediate family all went to the same church, and I enjoyed it as a kid. The Sunday school, the friends that you got to play with, the games that you got to play, like all these different things clicked, and obviously I got baptized. I really did have an experience with God, at an early age, but things shifted. My immediate family had some drama within the church. Not really sure exactly what went down, but I know that, my grandparents left and my parents soon followed after that, and along with some other people. And I could tell that my family struggled with trying to find a new church home. I remember we would hop from different churches, and that kind of stuck with me. And so I was a cultural Christian. I thought, man, if I'm good, if I'm polite, if I'm nice, then I'm going to heaven, right? Even when I was younger, I don't really feel like I grasped the true nature of the gospel and who Jesus was and what he done for us, and it went over my head. It wasn't until the end of high school, I would say junior, senior year, that I really started feeling like God was drawing me. Looking back at it now. But in the moment, the thing that was catching me is I didn't feel like I had any purpose. I didn't have anything that I was going after. I didn't have anything. I wasn't good at school. Very disinterested in anything that was going on at school. I even felt like with all the friend groups that I was kind of in and out, I never clicked. Like I didn't have my own clique. I just felt like I wandered. Like I was just the nice guy that kind of just knew everybody, but no true formal connection. And I could feel that. And really the only thing that really gave me some type of sense of purpose was football. And even at that, I worked so hard, and all the off season I was working out. Every chance I could, I was practicing, studying, and I still could see that guys that weren't doing that were stronger, were faster, were a little bit better. So there was even something in the back of my mind that's saying, man, this might not even turn out. And so it was really starting to weigh heavy on me, and my roots started to kick in. That church and God, and if I couldn't do it on my own, then maybe I could tap into something. Maybe if it's not God, something out there that it could guide me to what I'm supposed to do with my life. So I simply just started praying. Little selfish prayers, little dumb prayers, but I did feel like, I wasn't hearing anything, but I knew something was happening. Fast forward to my senior year. I put God to the test. And I remember I was getting a little frustrated. I wasn't getting any answers. I didn't feel like anything was panning out for me through praying. So I prayed a very bold prayer. I said, God, I have my senior football game a couple nights from now. And I put God to the test. I said, God, if you allow me to get a touchdown this football game, then I know you're out there. I know something's going to happen. I'm going to trust you. And so now this is the thing. I wasn't a running back or a quarterback or anything. I was an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman. So very rare. Really the only chance I got is a fumble recovery, and that's it. And so I remember going out to that game, and we were winning. It was really great. It was awesome. And I think it was like halftime. It was like going into that end of the second quarter, and I remember just this one play. I was going in on defense, and I felt it. I felt like God was putting something on me, like, this is the play. You're gonna get a touchdown. And so I call it arrogance, confidence, I don't know. But I literally have one guy on the sidelines. I'm telling him, hey, record this because I'm gonna get a touchdown. And they're laughing at me. I'm running on the field, and I'm being cocky and I'm yelling at everybody on the line, my team and their team, and I'm saying, hey, I'm going to get a touchdown right now. And people are laughing at me. They're just thinking I'm goofy. And then there's this moment where everybody's getting set, ready. They snap the ball, and then there's this overwhelming disappointment because I'm a defensive end, so I can see where the ball's going, and the ball was going a whole different direction. They're going on the other side. And so I was thinking, man, this isn't going to work out. And so just when I was about to walk away, this pile of people that was all the way over there, the ball pops out of that pile of players. And it literally, no joke, bounces all the way over to me, lands right at my feet. I pick that ball up, and even with defenders wrapping around my waist, I go and I get a touchdown that night. And I will never forget that moment afterwards. I mean, obviously, I'm excited, but then there's that moment at the sidelines, and I'm like, okay, this is it. This is real. Like, that's more than a coincidence. That's God showing himself true. And so I remember I just kept praying, and I kept reading the Bible. And then fast forward a little bit later, I actually get an offer. I get a partial scholarship to a local university to play, defensive lineman, be a defensive end. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like I never would have imagined that. So I'm thinking, okay, God is working in my favor. I got God on my side. And so, I'm happy. I feel like I'm going somewhere with this. And fast forward, I graduate. I go to this college, and I'm starting that first week of football. It's a week before the classes actually start to get you in, meetings, meet the coaches, the team, you start practicing all that. And I remember when I got there, I was the only freshman with his own room to himself. Everybody else had a roommate. I did not. Somehow it panned out where the guy, didn't show up, or he had his own place, something like that. So it gave me the opportunity to pray, like openly, every time I was in my dorm. And I remember the first day I was there, I didn't feel this overwhelming sense of all purpose and, I'm excited. It was like dread. It was like you weren't supposed to be there kind of feeling. And I was chalking it up to, okay, I'm nervous. And obviously there was some nerves. I mean, had to been. But there was more. And I just ignore it, and I go and I practice, and I'm doing all this stuff, and quickly I realize, and I'm not the best. I'm like the last on the depth chart, and that's fine, whatever. It's, but I still have that feeling like, man, I could be doing something else, if this isn't it. And so a couple of days in, I'm feeling torn, obviously. Like, is this worth my time? And, this is so different, and obviously those nerves of something new and everything, it's all coming together, and I'm just like, I don't want to make the wrong decision. I kind of want to leave, but I really want to stay, and it's, I'm really torn. I remember praying hard the next couple of days, like just trying to figure it out, trying to move forward. And there was this moment, and I'll never forget it. It wasn't like an audible voice, but it was just, the only way you could explain it is like you could hear it in your heart. You could hear it in your soul. I prayed, and I stopped, and God just spoke into my heart and just said, hey, if you quit and you follow me, I'll show you what your purpose is. When that just fell over me, man, I was crying. I've never had a voice just clearly say, hey, you'll be all right. You just follow me and you'll be all right. And I just felt so much comfort and peace, but also this overwhelming sense of like, you're a disappointment, and everybody is going to just totally not approve of this, and what if you do quit, and what do you got? You ain't got no prospects. And it's like I'm just walking out on this ledge and hoping that if I abandon this, that there's going to be something else. And so I do. The next day, actually, I go and I talk to the coaches and I quit. And obviously that, my parents probably weren't the happiest about that, and many other people, and but they were supportive, luckily, And, I went to a different college, got all that figured out. And when I left, it did give me more time to pray, to read the Bible, to try to figure stuff out. And one thing that stuck out was I felt like I was building out a message, like God was giving me something to learn, for myself. And that was really cool. It was like one of the first times I wasn't just reading just to read the story, but it was like it was coming together. And I remember obviously listening to other famous preachers and getting inspiration from them. And then there was a point where I'm like, oh, I have like a message. Like I have like a sermon that I could like tell people. And it just kind of clicks like, oh my goodness, I'm supposed to preach this somewhere, somehow. And it scared me because like I've never done that. I've never been good at public speaking. I've always been an introvert at heart. I don't want to be the center of attention or, be the life of the party kind of thing. Like I'm to myself. And so I kind of kept it to myself. I just kept reading. I was like, okay, well, maybe not, whatever. And as days went on and weeks went on and even like a month or so, like it felt like it was just building up in me. Like there was a point where I was literally going to explode if I did not preach the sermon. And the church that I was going to at the time, still my church now, I asked the pastor and said, hey, I know this is like kind of out of character, but like I need to preach a sermon. And like I feel like I'm going to explode if I don't do it. And so he's like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it, make it happen. And so the next youth service that they had open, he cleared the spot and got me in there. And so and I'll never forget, it was December 30th. So it was literally like that New Year's Eve weekend. So nobody was there at that service. It was literally only family members. But I remember going up there and I was so nervous beforehand. I mean, I'm like literally sweating and feeling sick, and I'm praying. I'm like, man, if this is the purpose, if this is what you want me to do, you're gonna have to help me with this. And as soon as I got up there, I touched that microphone and it let it all out. All the nerves went away. And it was just that moment again of like, just his presence pouring out over top of me. And after that sermon, man, it was like one after another, these opportunities of people that knew me from high school or whatever. They knew I just started preaching, so they wanted to try me out to preach at their churches. And so now I'm literally like, God's ushering me into this, evangelist type role. And I'm just like, I'm blown away because I never would have saw this. My parents were like totally shocked that, I started doing this stuff. And it was such a true testament that it was God. It was not me. It was never even, a thought in my mind ever. But even during this time, people are literally speaking into my life, encouraging me that I'm going to be an evangelist, all these different things. So I was ecstatic to have some type of leading and guiding, but it was still kind of fuzzy ahead. I didn't really know where to go, whether to go to Bible college, whether to keep on the same track and just get like a bachelor's degree and work, some type of job and preach on the weekends. I didn't know. And I just kept going through college, and I went through so many different majors. I was going to do this and that and that and this, and eventually I ended up in the communications department, which I was like, okay, well, it's going to help me with public speaking, blah, 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 blah. And I remember my first semester, I had a class, it was filmmaking 101. You just learn how to, make a structured video, how to edit it, put it out. And I thought that was intriguing, like that was fun. And I didn't really think about it at that time, but as I went further in the communications degree, I realized like filmmaking is such a powerful communication tool. And I thought, man, if I could use this to evangelize in some way, then that would be awesome. That would be great. And eventually when I graduated, yet again, these different opportunities started popping up, not just with, anybody, but with like these faith-based institutions and, obviously some, secular commercial stuff, but these opportunities started to come forth that I could use filmmaking as a tool to communicate the gospel through these beautiful images of church services, through, highlighting family businesses and all these different things, leading up all the way up till now, where I am recording people's testimonies to share, to encourage, and to edify the body of Christ. And even through this whole journey, I realized that my purpose is not a certain thing that I do with my hands. It's not filmmaking. It's not even preaching or teaching. We hold on to those things so much, and our identity is like connected to it. But really, our purpose is in Christ himself. It's Romans 12:1. It's to be a living sacrifice. It is Romans 12:2, that we are seeking his will. It's not our will. It's not our purpose. And more than anything, it's that he himself is our purpose. It is to be fitted and joined with him in whatever he wants. Ephesians 2:10, it says that beforehand he already has the good works established that we may walk in them. So as someone that has struggled with finding where he fits, where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? I'm here to encourage you that if you are a believer, if you are a Christian, and you feel that way, you're in the right place. That Abraham was literally a wanderer. The people of Israel were wanderers. Men and women of God throughout the Bible were wanderers, relying on the strength of God and putting their faith, their trust, and their purpose within God himself. And if you do the same thing, there is no limit. There's nothing too big, there's nothing too small that you can do for the kingdom of God.